One of the things I love about studying Scripture is how the deeper meaning and connections between the Scriptures are hiding in plain sight. Mark has framed Jesus' life as a fight between good and evil, where sometimes evil is demonic and sometimes evil is in the hearts of religious leaders and in their systems. Even though Jesus burst on the scene in Mark with no talk of his birth and minimal talk of his temptation, even though Mark has cast Jesus as having the power in every situation, it turns out Mark was also showing how subversive Jesus' message is. Jesus' power grows when he gives power away, and his power doesn't mean what power usually means. Jesus is so powerful, he can make a mockery of symbols of power, like riding a donkey into town instead of riding a war horse. Jesus doesn't have to impose his will on others, but can listen and respond to requests. Jesus' message and his ministry subvert or undermine the way we usually think about power, and his own power grows in our eyes as a result. On trial, Jesus looked like he had very little power from one point of view. It was a kangaroo court, and his death sentence was almost a foregone conclusion. He still had to sit through conflicting testimony. Two people would tell stories about him, and the stories contradicted each other. They couldn't both be true. I think back on times when I was in the wrong and people were criticizing me. I can remember thinking something like, "Oh, I was wrong, but not the way you're describing it." I would literally criticize people for not criticizing me right. Looking back at those times, I can see that I felt powerless and fought back to try to regain a little dignity, which obviously backfired. Jesus knew his goal. He'd shown the disciples how to share their power, to connect the power of God to the benefit of others. He was about to take that to the extreme. He would offer his own life, laying all of his power down to lift others up. Therefore, he used his power to exercise self-restraint. The only thing he said actually made things worse, if his goal was to stay alive anyway. He knew that to win the war, he had to lose this battle. By restraining his power, he actually displayed his power in its greatest form. I don't know about you, but I could stand to grow in my power to hold my tongue, to focus on the vision I'm called to pursue instead of looking strong in a particular moment. Jesus' crucifixion is almost too much for me to understand, but I can understand how hard it is to let people say untrue things about me without correcting them, even if that's what it takes to achieve the mission. Mark has put clues right where we could see them throughout his gospel. Jesus is the most powerful person that has ever been, but he uses his power the opposite way every other person uses power. The whole book has been preparing us for this moment when Jesus' life isn't taken from him, but he makes the choice to lay down his life for our sakes.